The first time I saw her, I barely noticed. She was just a woman waiting at the bus stop, late at night, standing under the flickering street lamp on Oak Ridge Avenue, her face pale under the yellowish glow. I only glanced at her as I drove by. Long black coat, dark hair hanging loose over her shoulders, hands folded neatly in front of her. I wouldn't have thought twice about her if it weren't for the way she was staring. Not at anything in particular. Not at the bus schedule. Not at a phone. She was staring at me. I caught it in my peripheral vision, but when I looked in the rearview mirror, she was still watching. Her eyes locked onto mine in the reflection, and she never blinked. At first, I told myself I imagined it. It was late. I was tired. Maybe she had just been zoning out, lost in thought, looking through me rather than at me. But the next night, she was there again. Same spot, same black coat, same unblinking stare. For 3 nights in a row, I saw her, always standing at the bus stop, always staring at me as I drove past. I tried to brush it off at first. Maybe she was waiting for someone. Maybe she was just lost in thought, gazing absently in my direction. But the more I saw her, the more I noticed the details. She never moved, never shifted her weight, never pulled out a phone. She just stood there, frozen, hands neatly folded in front of her, head slightly tilted downward, except for her eyes. Her eyes never wavered. They followed me perfectly, tracking my car with eerie precision, like something watching through a one-way mirror. By the 4th night, a gnawing unease had settled deep in my gut. It wasn't just paranoia anymore. Something was off. I decided to test it. As I approached the bus stop, I let my foot ease off the gas, slowing down just enough to get a better look without making it obvious. My heart pounded against my ribs, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. The headlights swept over her, and I saw her clearly for the first time. Her face was pale, too pale, like she had never seen sunlight. Her skin was smooth, unnaturally flawless, almost waxy under the artificial glow. Her lips were pressed into a tight, bloodless line, her chin slightly lifted as if daring me to look closer. But her eyes, they were too wide, too fixed. They weren't just staring at me, they were locked onto me. A sinking dread curled in my stomach. Something in my brain, some ancient primal instinct buried deep in my DNA, screamed at me to look away, to keep driving, to never stop here again. Then I noticed something that made my breath hitch. She wasn't breathing. The night was cold enough to fog up my windows, yet there was no visible breath from her lips, no subtle movement in her chest beneath the thick coat. Just stillness, complete, unwavering, unnatural stillness. A thought slithered into my mind, uninvited and unwelcome. That's not normal. That's not human. My foot slammed down on the gas before I could process what I was doing. The tires screeched slightly as my car surged forward. My pulse hammered in my ears, drowning out the sound of my own panicked breathing. I didn't look back. I couldn't look back. But as I sped away, something in the pit of my stomach told me I had just made a terrible mistake. I couldn't let it go. The next day I brought it up at work. Just a casual, offhand comment over lunch, trying to make it sound like a weird coincidence rather than something that had been gnawing at my brain all night. "Hey, you ever notice that woman at the Oak Ridge bus stop at night?" Lisa, who had lived in town her whole life, frowned. "What woman?" "The one that's always standing there just staring. She never takes the bus." The table went quiet. Jason, who worked the night shift at the gas station a few blocks from the stop, set his drink down a little too hard. "Dude," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "there is no bus at that stop after 10 p.m. I blinked. "What do you mean?" Jason shrugged, but his expression had changed, his usual easygoing smirk replaced by something tense, something uneasy. "That route got cut last year. No buses run that late." I let out a short laugh, but even I could hear how forced it was. "Maybe she's waiting for a ride then." "Every night?" Lisa asked. "In the same spot? Just standing there?" No one had an answer. I chewed on my lip, replaying every time I had seen her, every moment her unblinking gaze had locked onto me as I passed. Had I ever actually seen a bus there? Had I seen anyone else at the stop? The thought sent a cold shiver creeping up my spine. That night, I took a different route home, just in case. I told myself it was stupid, that I was letting paranoia get to me. But when I reached the turn for Oak Ridge, I kept driving straight, taking the longer way through the main roads, where the lights were bright, where the streets weren't so empty. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I was almost laughing at myself. Almost. Until I glanced across the street, and my stomach turned to ice. Because under the dim glow of the street lamp, standing perfectly still on the sidewalk was her. Not at the bus stop, not on Oak Ridge. Here, in front of my house. And she was staring directly at me. I froze. She shouldn't be here. I had changed my route. I had avoided the bus stop entirely. And yet, there she was. The air in my car felt too thick, too heavy. My heartbeat thundered in my ears, but I forced myself to look at her, to really look at her. Her face was paler than before. Her lips were colorless, and her eyes, those impossibly wide, unblinking eyes, seemed darker, deeper, like they weren't eyes at all. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone. I needed proof. I needed to show someone that she was real. I opened the camera, focused it on her, and the screen showed nothing. Just the empty sidewalk, the street lamp flickering. But no one was there. My breath hitched. My fingers tightened around the phone. I glanced up. She was still standing there. But in my camera, nothing. And then she moved. Not like a person, not like someone shifting their weight or adjusting their posture. She twitched. A sudden, unnatural jerk forward, like something trying to step into the wrong kind of body, like something struggling to fit into human skin. And for the first time, her lips moved. She mouthed two words. I didn't need to hear them to understand. Let me in. I dropped my phone. The streetlight flickered, once, twice, then went out. Darkness swallowed the sidewalk. And when the light came back on, she was gone. I kept my lights on, checked my windows, listened for anything. Footsteps, whispers, the creak of the front door. But the house was silent. Unnaturally silent. The kind of silence that presses against your ears, thick and suffocating. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding in my chest. Every creak of the floorboards, every shift in the wind, sent adrenaline surging through my veins. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that she wasn't real, that I was just overtired, my mind playing tricks on me. Morning came, and with it a false sense of safety. The sunlight painted my walls in warm, familiar colors, chasing away the shadows. The fear I'd felt the night before seemed distant, almost absurd. In the daylight, paranoia felt childish. I convinced myself it was a hallucination, stress, sleep deprivation, some weird trick of the brain. I didn't see her the next night, or the next, but I never felt alone again. Something had shifted. It wasn't just paranoia. It was deeper than that. A knowing. A constant, prickling sensation in the back of my mind, like a presence just out of sight. I felt it in the way the shadows stretched too far down my hallway at night, bending in ways that didn't make sense. In the way my reflection lingered a second too long when I turned away from the mirror. In the way my bedroom door was always open just an inch more than I remembered leaving it. I told myself I was imagining things. I repeated it over and over like a mantra. But deep down, I knew. I was still being watched. And then, exactly a week later, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. No message, just a photo. I felt the blood drain from my face before I even opened it. My fingers trembled as I tapped the screen, my breath catching in my throat. It was a picture of me, taken from outside my bedroom window. My stomach twisted into knots. My mind raced, searching for an explanation. A prank? A mistake? But my thoughts screeched to a halt when I looked closer. Because in the reflection of the glass, standing behind me, she was there. Still staring, still smiling, and she still never blinked.